So we welcome tonight a very special artist, Yanor. She with us. You can raise your hand. We shall know who you are. Yanor is a brilliant video artist, conceptual artist, photographer, and Lee ran a long project with the well-known dancer Pina Bausch, and I think that her participation would be something around this topic. Lee, you want us to project the short movie, or you want to say something before? What do you prefer?
Maybe you just show it.
Okay, but we want to know who you are and what you're doing, even in short. We can do it after. Okay.
Well, long time ago, I started as a photographer, and then slowly, I touched the film Super 8, 16 millimeters, and today also video installations. So there are no borders with my images. I spent 9 years in Paris in the 90s, and I think at that time, as a young photographer, the contemporary dance scenes and choreographer collaborated a lot with the art world, with with sculptors, painters, and I found myself as a young girl meeting a lot of artists. Among them was Pina Bausch. With some of them, my dialogue and collaboration went on for a long time, and especially with Pina. How didn't you know this is kind of encounters and I think common language in some way or another. And I think after 10 years of exchange, I proposed to Pina to try and make a film together. And in 2002 and then 2006, we did two, and it gave a long film of 52 minutes. It's called Coffee with Pina. What can I say? I think images open one window.
We shall see it, and maybe after you can say something about the hands. But you know that we have tonight Rina Schenfeld. She's with us here around the table. And Rina and Pina, Rina, say hello to you. And by the way, she wants to meet you at your studio. We arranged it today. So if you're willing to welcome Rina, she will visit you. So Rina will tell after about the contact with Pina, and maybe we should see the short movie.
So would you like to share it from your side?
No, tell her.
I can. I hope my communication is okay. I'll try. Okay, do you see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Lee, you want to add something about the movie, about the hands?
Yes, I can, but let me stop it for one. I have to see. Just a minute. Okay. Well, since this meeting is also about memory, I must say that I proposed to Pina first amazing hands, very, very special and long hands, but I proposed to Pina to make a solo of her hands because it reminded me the hands of my grandmother. So memory and refinding ourselves, but this I did not say. I just said that I think that hands take so much that it's like a signature of the soul, and maybe it can be movements that are not dance and not talking and something else. So this was the kind of searching for these moments and those movements. And it was the beginning of the long film, but after 10 years, I found myself in another exhibition in Zemack Gallery, having a lot of, the hands is a kind of a very common image that comes back to me. And the curator told me, Lee, what about Pina's hands? Maybe you take the rushes. So this film was also take, because we continue everything and taking it in another context. And actually I had like 7 shots or 8 shots, and it was making this film like making music. And it's like an ongoing dialogue with no beginning, no end. So she's, in a way, she's with me. And now it's shown in the Israel Museum in this special time in Israel, making this exhibition. And we all felt that it has so much compassion and so much pleasure.
Okay, amazing. I don't know exactly what was the reaction of her, but again, maybe we should pass by to Rina Schenfeld. You want that Rina will sit here, or?
No?
שיראו את ההרוג, כי לא רואים אותה ככה. Yeah. Okay. Rina, can we invite you to say, like, what do you have to say about this movie, about the hands?
Wow, it's fascinating. You know, I also want lately see what's going on with the fingers, because I was talking about the whole body, and I thought that even this and this is delicate, and every part has a lot to say. I enjoyed them. Yeah.
Great. So I think that we shall move to your presentation. Just to say something about Rina Schenfeld. Rina was she is very active and the prima ballerina of the Israeli dance. Dance in Israel is quite advanced. And Rina was one of the founders of Batsheva Dance Company, which is now worldwide famous company. And then founded the Rina Schenfeld Dance Theater, 30 years already, 45, I'm sorry, performing everywhere. And now the stage is yours.
Thank you. I would like to show a video which I choreographed 45 years ago, in 1980. And actually the subject of this dance is our skin and what is beyond the skin. This dance I re-choreographed, recycled, re-danced, reinvented all those years. It keeps on 45 years and it never stops. It's a very special subject. I got a parachute from one of my students when they heard that I'm working with the objects. She gave me a parachute and said, go and play with it. And it was like my second skin.
The parachute was your second skin? Okay. Okay.
It is actually a wings to fly. I did this dance with many music, Bach, Chopin, Leonard Cohen, Shlomo Arzi, Ari Frankel, and Villa-Lobos. And now we see with Villa-Lobos, with a singer, which I performed in Paris Opera a few weeks ago, Barbara Hannigan. She is one of the best singers and conductors in the world. So let's see.
Okay.
Talking about skin. by Rina Bachianos Brasileiras. On the guitar, Nadav Lev.
לא, אבל המצנח, like the parachute is from the 80s?
לא, אבל זה הביצוע עכשיו.
לא, כן, את זה אני רואה. לא, כי זה אחרי יום כיפור, כאילו.
Yeah,
Okay.
we need to speak English because our friends, they are not
No, somebody brought it to me. It's a student. She said, you are playing with all kinds. You know, people brought me a tin dance, a stick.
But did you relate it to the parashut only, as you say, as a scheme, or
No.
did you have any meaning of war and peace or protection? What was the idea of using it as an object?
In 1980, it was Jacob's dream.
Okay,
Jacob's dream. Later on, it became wings
okay,
with Bach. Later on, it became a parachute. And I changed it, and now it's wings. And I still perform it because it's a classic, but there are images of a woman pose in all kinds of, but it's a second skill. It's a second skill, and it's elevating the body.
just one word for Lee, just to sum it up. Like you studied with Pina Bausch, I think at the Marta Gram. This is
No, at the Julian School.
Okay, the Julian. Okay.
Pina was not grand.
Okay. So, like when you watch Lee Yanor's work with the hands, is it something which somehow connects you to Pina? Could you recognize watching the hands choreography?
Yes, her hands are, it's like the skin. It's something that symbolizes very realistic actually.
Okay.
It belongs to him.
Okay. Well, we just move on. Dror sitting in Dror Hibsh is a scientist, but he's also a dancer. So no, it's also the combination. You know, we had our friend Idan was asking how many scientists will sit around the table today. So both of you and Michael Lazar, you both scientists, but you related to the movements. So it will be interesting to hear your reaction, just in general.
Yes, I thought about it that you will mention me as a dancer, but actually in the work that are for this project, and it's really hard for me to relate to movement. There is a body. Maybe you can share you have the photo of the object. So it's hard for me to relate to a movement. It's much more easy for me to relate to a body.
Okay.
Because as I mentioned before, the object that I created is sculpture of a baby. And there is something in a very intimacy that I want to share with you that related to the skin and skin and memory. I'm working a lot with my diary. I'm going back and look at what I wrote. And one night when I was in India, I found that I remember many ex-girlfriend of me is something very traumatic. And I didn't know why I remember her as something bad and her as something, and not as good, the good parts. And I realized that everything that I'm writing, when I'm approaching my diary, I approach it to write the trauma.
Okay.
And the baby that I sculpture is again to write the trauma. The name of the work is The Baby That I Will Not Have. It was after many years of despair of not having a child, not being in a partnership at all. Nowadays it's different. Now I have my baby.
Talking about the art piece that you're showing in our project, we see your scientific side is really connected to what you said before.
Yeah.
So in a way, we have the collaboration.
Exactly.
Okay, we need to go ahead, so it's fine. So we saw the connection and the so-called relation and friendship between Rina and Pina and Lee now, and now we shall go ahead. Talking about language or how to translate medias, I think that we get to Tamar Schori sitting here next to me, and maybe the best is, Tamar, that you will explain your own connection to the ski, memory, and the movement, because I think you should make it the best. Yeah.
Please, Tamar.
Just a second.
Let me know when you want the presentation on.
Right.
Right now?
I just welcome some other friends. Yigal Ozeri. Hi, Yigal.
Hi, hi.
Hi, how are you? And we
Very
have
good,
Betty
very good.
and Yossi. Betty and Yossi, hello. Yeah.
Hi.
Okay. Betty and Yossi, they are a couple. Yossi is a scientist and Betty, she's an artist. Together. Okay.
So, my name is Tamar Schori. As you said, I'm an interdisciplinary artist. Whenever I make a presentation, I use this symbol. This is the Ouroboros. It's a tail that eats its own. It's a snake that eats its own tail. And for me, it's a symbol for going beyond the map. Yeah. In the 17th century, you find this symbol on the edges of maps. And I believe that today, if you seek innovation, it's between disciplines. And in my work, I combine textile and research. And I want to share today the process I went through in creating an interoceptive wearable. Okay? So I'll start with the bat. The bat has a sense that we don't have. That is the echolocation. They are able to locate themselves through sonar. It's very easy to imagine that ourselves as flying or being upside down or eating insects. But it is not possible for us to imagine ourselves as orienting ourselves through sound. That is impossible. It gets even more complicated than that. It gets more complicated than that because we don't really understand our own perception. So try to see if you understand what is in this picture. If you're visually smart, maybe you already know, so don't say. But are you ready to realize what that is?
We're ready.
Ready.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
next.
Okay.
Now we know because our brain got some information we didn't have before, and now we can decipher something that we didn't know before. So our mind is based on memory in order to understand stuff. And what I want us to take with us for now, that is a notion I recently realized, which is it's common to conceive of the brain as an organ designed to react to stimuli from the outside world. Basic, right? We all think that way. But it is not true. Recently, researchers come to the understanding that the brain doesn't function in order for us to rationalize, in order for us to perceive the world accurately, nor does it function in order for us to see, hear, or feel. The brain is evolved or was evolved in order for us to regulate the body so it can function in real life. So it's a survival mode, and it explains a lot. I was surprised to find it, and for me, in my quest for interoceptive wearables, I take the fact that the
in order for the mind to regulate the body. It integrates scraps of sensory input with memories of similar experiences from the past. And it also opens for me the opportunity to think that consciousness is not solid. It's not finite. It's something that is more of, we can play with it, we can move, maybe like a snake, maybe like a bat, maybe like a conscious human being. And I want to take this further, and this is a flower, but you can touch anything, like touch the table, touch the chair, do it, just touch something. Can you tell me in words, what do you feel? Do you have words for that something? I guess we don't. And in English, you'd say ineffable. Ineffable means something you cannot describe. I find myself coming again and again and again to that moment. For me, it's fascinating. And I ask myself, what structures the expression of sensorial impressions? Why is it so difficult for us to express these feelings, these sensorial feelings? Is it something to do with the way the mind and the brain is working, or is it a cultural thing? So it depends who you ask. If you ask anthropologists, they would say it might be a cultural thing. And sure enough, there was in 2010 a conference with leading anthropologists who created a project that investigated in depth that question. Is it or is it not something that has to do with culture? And one of them describes a nice story. He says he was working in Zulu, in Ghana, where everybody speaks Zulu. And imagine an afternoon. It's warm, it's very hot, and there's a group of people, and a merchant comes by and he has vegetables, and everybody's discussing these vegetables. And one of them would say, Ikbedi, sini, 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 which means the cassava is wonderfully smooth. And one would say something about the shape of the avocado, which I cannot say. And one would express some sort of concern that since the banana is ripe, it's not ripe, it might feel sticky to the teeth. So he would say, Kanya ame titiliti. And for them, since they speak the language, they have this non-arbitrary feeling of what does it feel to touch the cassava or to eat the banana. So they have this very strong sensorial way to express things in a non-arbitrary way. And for me, this is like a treasure, because I'm always looking for non-arbitrary ways to express stuff. And if in the 19th century they would treat these ideophones as sound pictures, today you can see it again in Korea, for example, and you can buy it on a shop. For example, malang malang is the sound of something that is squishy. Or pazak pazak is the sound of something that is crispy. We don't have it, so we don't feel it. But for me, it's an inspiration, and I said, wow, let's see if we can do that in writing. Okay? So I asked myself 3 questions because I want to create a sensorial font, and I want to do it for a long time. Suddenly I had the clue of how to start. And I asked myself, can we map sensorial experience systematically? Is there a unified way to express sense? And what would be the non-arbitrary sound? I'll be quick and I'll just tell you that when I look at research, many times when I see research that relates to the senses, I see this axis. And this axis means that scientists, when they want to model sensorial impressions, they use it on an axis that says, is something agreeable or not agreeable? That's the X. Or is something intense or not intense? So it's good enough for me. I will use that principle. That is great. And I see it also with the research relating to sound and to feelings. And I say, okay, that's my axis. Okay. Next. And these are the ideophones maps on them. And the second question, is there a unified way to model sensorial impressions? Quickly, I would say yes, waves. Next. And next. And we come to the third question. Is there a non-arbitrary way to express shapes with sounds? And this is another experiment, short experiment. This experiment started in the 17th century, I think, but I will ask you, these two shapes, which one is the one on the left Kiki or Buba? One of the left with the
Kiki for sure.
Kiki on the left.
Oh.
Anybody thinks differently? Everybody says the same. Just one person says differently, and that's my husband, because he's special. But everybody says the same, and that's it. So if it's good for everybody, it's good for me. These are my shapes. Let's go on. Go on. Second, and yeah. So this is my axis, as I said, on it, and we can go just a second. If it's very powerful, then I use 3 signs, and if it's less powerful, I will use 1 sign. If it's Buba, then it's waves. If it's Kiki, then it's zigzag. Next slide, please. And I told you that I want to create an interoception wearable. And I want, you see on the sides, there are 3 icons. They represent the hidden senses, not the touch, not the smell, not the one that you usually think of, but senses that relate to the body, to the
beyond the skin.
Beyond the skin.
Yeah.
Wow. How we have sensors in our joints and in our inner organs, and the body listens outside, but it also listens inside all the time, and it influences so much. And once you start thinking about it, you see how much. Next, please. Okay, this one. So these are all the combinations that one can write using this sensorial font. For example, in Japanese, doki doki, the argue from doki doki means my heart is beating. Maybe I'm excited, maybe it's good, maybe it's not. We don't know. But with this font, you can choose how to express it. Maybe it's 3 Kiki, maybe it's 2 Buba. You say it. Okay? Next. So next. I investigated writing, and I found something that was really interesting, that when you translate written sentences into the Kiki Buba font, you find the underlying sensorial aspect of texts. I will put it aside. It's very interesting. And next, I asked myself, what are the next steps? So, of course, some graphical, visual things of how to create that font. Next, please. And something very interesting that if you think about emojis, for example, I can create a font for emojis. You will be able to download it later the next month. And think about this upside down smiley. We know what it is, but if you add a strong Buba to it, it might say agreeable but a bit strange. If you add a kiki to it, you might say slightly strange, but actually appealing. So we have a different aspect to communication. And once I have this, a visual language for sensorial impression, I go back to my plan to create a wearable. And this is rather new. Just a second, so I'll read it like 2 minutes. Now that I have a visual way to communicate the ineffable, I would like to see if I can shift perception and enable people to tell me about it. I strongly recommend this book. Professor Seth shows how being conscious relates to how we perceive the world, how we perceive our bodies in it, and how we perceive our inner states. How all of these are shaped by predictions from the inside out, geared to support our survival. For me, it gives an opening to create interoceptive art, experience from the inside out. It took me a long while to understand what the hell am I doing, and I think for now that I start to understand. I'll create a wearable, I said to myself. A one that will shift sensorial perception and alter the wearer's orientation and sense of self. There are many body awareness types and some complexities, such as the phantom limb syndrome, where an amputated person may feel pain in a missing limb. Bodily awareness is connected to our senses and movement. It has 2 layers. The habit body, based on the body memory, and the body of the present moment. So we have 2 bodies. We have the memory body, and we have the body that we experience now. The body memory system scans the surrounding for rememberness, compatible elements, and scenarios that it can link to, aiming to establish coherence based on past experiences. So we have to base our experience on memory. And for me, it's an inspiration in a way to say, yes, let's create this wearable and let's shift our perception and let's see what happens. And this next month will be an experience where people will be invited to experience with their bodies these wearables that will shift their proprioception and everything.
Amazing.
And it will look like this. So it's
Great.
So it's modular. Everybody will choose how to wear it, how deeply to shift their sensorial expressions. And you are invited to download the phones. Again.
Okay.
And that's it.
Thank you so much. So Michelle, wait 1 second. I see that you need to leave. Where are you now? Are you in Paris?
No, I'm actually in north of Normandy, in Picardy, in a very amazing place. Nature. So, yes, I'm in a very different mode than art, but, getting back to nature and my body and my senses, but touching back nature and cooling down. So, yes. Is where I am.
Catch a very short description of your way of combining the work on portraits, in a way creating your figures by using either photography or whatever you use in order to create your artworks. Maybe you can relate to it because, of course, there is memory in almost every piece that you dialogue with classic artwork. And again, your performances are connected to the movement, if you like. And the skin is a part of your work in any case. So what could you add in few sentences to our session?
Okay, I'm very sorry because the problem is that I just joined, so I didn't follow what you talked about before. So I'm not very sure how I can add compared to what has been done. But yeah, I mean, just the body and the senses, like I heard right now, that catches me because it's probably also the two main subject I'm dealing with on the using the body that can I'm playing very much with dimensions and often using the body, which is a three-dimensional object, in a space which is three-dimensional, and then I bring it back to two dimensions, saying that it is not that. So I'm doing the contrary to what we could expect. Like the photography is trying to bring back a third dimension because the photography is two dimension, and with light you're trying to bring it to get out of the photography. And I'm doing the contrary. I'm building a 3D space and body, and I put them, like bring them just like it was a painting, two-dimensional painting. So this is to say that actually we're much more than this image, and we do have senses and we do have intuition, and our communication with the external world through is much more complex than only this chemical body or this body right now, because we are talking also about technology that can be seen as a machine. We are not that. I mean, all my work and the new work I'm doing now on using AI technology is to say that and building a world that is like awkward and strange, but that could be the world we live in. It's to say to try to push the limits, maybe in a sense, to make. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
I just want to interject a question. So you are trying to add another dimension using the current newer technologies. Would you be interested in using yet another dimension, like a new way of expressing feelings using the suggested language, as Tamar just mentioned? Would you consider using that in addition to AI?
By language, are you meaning words?
Or signs, like the ones suggested by Tamar?
Yeah.
I could ask practically, when you became ego Shile, Figo, and when we're talking about the designing, as I said, the layer of the skin, especially because he was sick and he was he was suffering, and then you designed the skin of his body. Like Yehudah said now, are you having any thought about new approach, new even technical ways to do it in a new way, in a way? Because Tamar brought a whole fresh idea of transferring from one field to the other one. So
yeah, so right now I'm transferring between different fields, that are physical medium. So using all the medium and transferring, content from one medium to the other. Actually, it's interesting because lately I've been working with two people, and we are thinking about a project that will add other senses. It would be a live performance with musicians and maybe moving sculptures and maybe words. So really trying to add more live, also a live experience for the person entering into a space and having. So I'm not sure about gesture but yeah, I mean, for sure gesture. Also to quantify and to measure it through measurement devices that will be translated. It's a bit complex. We have had already one with the Technion. We had already one performance together with maybe Elad Schneiderman, if you know him. And now we are working on a new one, and it will be it will go a lot beyond. And it's yes, it's using sensors that translate gestures into sound and light. So yeah, we are developing that right now. It will be probably in a few months. We'll have a first work together in front of the public. So yes, definitely, we are thinking about that.
Great, thank you so much. Enjoy your trip and come back
Thank
soon.
you.
We're missing you.
In a week.
I just wanted to welcome two guests. As you know, there was a very well-known movie, Israeli director, Guy Nativ from Los Angeles, working with Yuval Or, the editor of the movie Skin and other movies. We thought that obviously we should bring up the movie Skin, and we have another friend, Alon Gourier, is one of the leading figures in the Israeli film world now. But Yuval, I propose maybe we should see a very short introduction about the movie Skin, and then we shall ask you a very brief question. Is it okay with you?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
So,
okay.
I will share it in a minute.
Yeah, 1 minute and we shall put it.
Doron, this is your time to talk more.
Okay. So, Yuval, maybe I can ask you meanwhile, do you think that the movie Skin was, in a way, when I try to connect it to our topic, because we're talking about the skin, was it about racism, or how did you see it? What was the real connection that you could say to this movie?
first of all, I'm the editor of the film. Guy couldn't be here today, so I'm replacing him. So Skin it's a short film, 20 minutes, that won the Oscars, like in 2019. Yes, it's a movie about racism, the Skin. It's about racism and colors, the black and the white. And I don't want to ruin you the film if you didn't see it, but it's all about the color of the skin, and all the movie is from the eyes of the children, and so yes, it's racism through skin, black and white, between in the US. So yes, and I did, if you talk about, it's about tattooing the skin. So I did a tattoo, I will show you, of skin, of the name of the movie. I have a lot of names of movies that I'm editing on my body. So, yes, skin, color, tattooing.
I just wanted to ask about the editing technique of a short movie like that. We saw in the very short version, you still see immediately the tattoo on the body. It was a very distinguished part that is coming and going along the movie. And again, once you using the kids, the child, in a way, I analyzed that there are extreme two sides to the presentation of the body along the movie. Was it a part of your decision where you edited it that we shall have in front of the frame the guy? Was it the skin was a part of the violence? Was it extreme in your editing in this movie?
Again, everything is in this movie, like racism, it's skin in the end. Most of it, like in America, black, white, and Asian, that it's yellow, and etc. And we wanted, we first of all, when we started to edit, it was the story of the fathers. Like, but while we played with the material, we understood the story is of the kids and what they see and learn from their fathers, and how racism go over generations. And when you teach your child then that black is not a good color, it will come back to you in the end. Okay, and so yes, the kids were the main characters of the film in the end.
Okay, we should show it now, the short version. 1 minute. Alon, I will ask you something later.
Snakes have many predators.
You ready?
So that's why they have camouflage.
And how do I know which ones are dangerous and which ones aren't?
Snakes have colorful bodies.
Were you fucking with my kid?
You were looking at the toy.
And they use that to warn predators that they're venomous.
Careful with that, will you?
He's a fucking pro. Kind of feels like if I was identifying a poisonous snake, I really want to look for the color. The brighter the color, the more venomous.
So once they're striking, you want to move out of the way.
I need you to go hide under my bed. Go
If you don't, if it's venomous, then you're dead meat.
It's fascinating, isn't it? What's the next generation? Troy, Francis, Paul.
Okay, so actually,
I want to say something about it.
yes.
The sentence that you hear about the color of the skin of the snakes, it's funny because the kid was studying at school, and the director told him to talk about something that he studied in the dinner scene, and it started to talk something that he did he talked in class about snakes. So we did it, and suddenly we noticed that it's you know, it's the essence of the movie. You know, the color of the snake skin and how dangerous it is or not. And it was amazing because it wasn't in the script. So this is a small part that, from the editing.
We shall come back to the snake. And Yehudah will talk about it later on. Alon Gourarieh, Alon talking about skin in movies in general. What could you relate to it?
Well, hi everyone. I just want to throw some images that you encountered in your life. Do you remember Hannibal Lecter, the movie Silence of the Lambs? If you remember the bad guy, the murderer, Buffalo Bill, is a serial killer who starves his victims to make it easier to remove their skin and make a suit from it, and then he achieves the gender change he wanted. So he wears the skin of his victim. So in cinema, people using all the time skin in different. When Doron told me about this idea of talking about skin, also there is this Edward Scissorhands, if you remember the Tim Burton, that is like a Pinocchio that is not finished. So he always has scars on his face too, and we understand. We see the skin and we understand his past immediately. And usually, when you make movies, you always use this term skin tone. Skin tone is very important. You know, in post-production, people always sitting hours to make the skin right and like make the eyes glow more or less. And skin tone, there's also this phrase, teal and orange, that if I'm sitting here, I should have something blue behind me, and then it will be perfect because that's the different sides of this color wheel, teal and orange or blue and orange. And it looks great in space when you blow up something. So we have fire and blue behind you, or and people always talk about when you're using special effects why you use a green screen or blue screen, and you know that's the reason that it's not the color of people. People are warm, blue. All the people on Earth are brown and orange and red and pink. That's the color. Colors of fire and earth, and the opposite is blue and green. So that's why we use that. If you make a Smurf movie, you should use something else because you're blue yourself. So if I connect to this wonderful film, Skin, you know, skin is usually used like a subtext when you talk about racism, and you know, this also this famous Jordan Peele film that also won Get Out. It's like a horror film, and skin is always like the subtext. Someone from this kind of people coming to visit the family of his girlfriend. She's a different kind of color, and also if you remember the Joker, lots of films, but this the Joker from The Dark Knight, like he is painting himself, but he thinks that he's okay. Everybody is loony, and he's doing the right thing to blow up people, but from his point of view, and that's the perfect villain. You know, usually the villain that is calm and educated is much more frightening than the one who shouts and shoots. Look at all the James Bond franchise. It's always like a British someone.
I wanted to mention Goldfinger alone. In Goldfinger, they covered the body with gold, and they killed her by using a new skin. The glowing skin.
All the skin is like blank. You just cover her with gold. Right. And it's nonsense, you know, it won't work. Yes, you can try cover someone with gold, it won't work. But in the movie, it kills her. That's okay. In Sean Connery's world, it works. So dealing with skin is all the time when you use character, when you make the palette, when you talk to actors and we think together how to make them look, paint the hair in encounter to the screen. So we're dealing with that all the time, not only in popular culture, but when you write the movie, you imagine it, and that's my 2 cents about skin in cinema.
Thank you so much. A good reminding with a lot of recommendation to see again those feeling. Thank you both. Thank you very much for the donation. We shall get now to Naseem.
So perhaps I should mention.
Yeah.
We spoke about skin flaying, and we mentioned the horror film. And although it's certainly not related to Naseem Darbey's work, however, we actually became acquainted through your connection with the pathology museum at Guy's Hospital in London, the Gordon Museum. So, Naseem, perhaps you should tell us a bit about your perception on skin and movement or motion and how it relates to your work.
Okay, should I share an image whilst I speak? Would that be a good idea?
Yes, obviously.
Hang on a minute, just 2 seconds. I will just find. Yeah, because I was working a lot of my sculpture. I'm a textile sculptor, and I was working from the collections at the Gordon Museum of Pathology. How do I? Sorry, just bear with me 1 second. How do I share? Is there the little button with the green? No, hang on.
You should click the green button at the bottom.
Hang on a minute.
And then choose your image. You need to first open the image on the desktop.
I've done that, yeah.
Then go to Zoom and go to this green button at the bottom.
Hang on. Oh, yes. Just bear with me 1 second.
It's okay.
And share screen. Aha. Okay. So can everybody see this?
Now we see. Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Wow.
Yes. So this piece of work is called Puka, and it's a light-based textile piece, and it's very much about referencing the skin. It's all based around kind of more what's beneath the skin. So it's very personal, this piece. Back in 2010, I had breast cancer, and I had an alteration. It was the first time that I realised this, was when my own skin altered. I began to see puckers, and I began to see a change in the surface and a kind of real fear of what was happening underneath. In terms of movement, my sculptures, which I can't show very easily because they happen really, really slowly over time, but these are augmented with LED lights and fibre optics, and they very, very slowly go through a process of change. And what happens is they go through various colours into kind of like, I suppose, like a kind of red danger zone, but the kind of movement, they go through like a little bit of a dance. And it's the idea that the body is in a constant cyclical process of change and renewal, this healing process. For me, obviously, 11 years later, I'm still here. But I had to go through this very pronounced, constant change. And the reason that I went to the Gordon Museum was because I wanted to look inside. So after I'd had my cancer treatment, I wanted to really face it. I wanted to see what had happened underneath the skin. So it's kind of like, what was that movement? What happened? And it was quite front facing. It was a little bit scary at the time, but I really wanted to know what that was about. So my sculptures, I produced 9 of these, were very much in different parts of the body, but all beneath the surface. Were very much about that process of change and healing. Oh, are you still there? Hang on.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I've lost you.
Okay. Super.
So,
okay.
Should I stop sharing that? Hang on a minute. You're back. I lost you briefly for a moment. Apologies. So yeah, so that's my work. That's one piece of a larger body of work.
Okay.
So we'll see more of your work that will be presented digitally in Venice.
In Venice.
And thank you, meanwhile.
I think that you could enjoy before Rina Schenfeld, the parachute, I think, was another version of textile, like totally different, but it was a nice match, I think. Okay. Yeah, it was interesting. I would like to invite Michael Lazar. Michael is also, of course, he's a scientist and an artist. Michael, why should I say so many words? You should present yourself.
Okay, I'm Michael, and I'm happy to be here. As a scientist, I'm a professor of geophysics and professor of earth sciences. As an artist, I've gone through many different phases. Began as a sculptor for many years. And today I work on the border between art and science and body performance, among other things. And to help with this combination between art and science, one of the things that I do is I use the tools of my science, such as this little thing right here, to inspire my art and to expand perception. And by the way, this is one of the things that Michelle was talking about for his live performances. This is a seismometer, measures earthquakes. This is a small one. It's an educational tool. It's to explain earthquakes in classrooms. What I do with this, and I'll talk about two different facets of my art, but I'll begin with this. What I try to do with this is measure what's happening in a room, to characterize the space, to expand our perception of the room. Because I can come to the Zemack gallery and I can try to characterize it, and I'll characterize it by there's 1, 2, 3, 4 walls. There are paintings on the walls. There's a high ceiling. There are 3 floors. There's a table. There are cars outside. But this could be a description of any gallery anywhere in the world. What I do with this is I measure the vibrational patterns in the room, and that includes everything that's happening in the room and outside of the room. So I'm measuring the vibrations of the cars, I'm measuring the vibrations of the people in the room, I'm measuring the air conditioning, I'm measuring the water through the pipes, through the toilets, I'm measuring the people on the computer, I'm measuring the people putting the glass down, everything comes into this little sensor. I then translate the data into sound. I'll put a microphone on the table, I'll record the ambient sound of the room, I'll interview the people in the room, I'll create an elaborate soundscape out of these 3 different layers that really define the space that we're in. I'll take it into 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions, but it's mainly sound at that stage. I've used this many times with dancers, and this is mentioned dance, the Rina and the lead. These work as inspiration for dancers and choreographers in projects that I've had in Germany. I'll give them a visual I'll explain about the vibration patterns. I'll give them a visual representation of the data itself, which they'll take to use as and translate into movement, including me part of their movement, so I become part of the choreography, so to speak. As a geophysicist, I explore my medium, I explore my subjects through a computer screen, through a microscope. I don't actually touch things. And then one day, this man over here, Doron, challenged me, and he thought that it was really strange that as an earth scientist, I've never actually felt, we've all felt the earth, we've all felt sand, but never really immersed myself in earth. And I mean, we can show.
Sure, try to find it.
Yeah. Somewhere there. So, you can start with the first picture. As a geophysicist, my field is the shallow subsurface. So it's if you want, it's the epidermis, it's the outer layer of the earth, it's the outer layer of the skin. And I wanted to go beyond that. I wanted to go beyond that outer layer. So I immersed myself in the material itself, in getting it in all areas of my body. Smelling it, blocking it, using it, and yeah, that's it, because earth is memory. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to take the memory of the place, the earth can characterize the place as well in terms of memories, and use it as another layer on my skin, another layer of skin on my body.
Have you considered 3D printing your sound?
Yes, I have. It's complicated. It's very, very complicated because the visual representation is tiny, sometimes really tiny, fragile spikes that can, it's a problem thinking and trying to
There's a translation.
Yeah.
Would you like to add a word about this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's more or less it's what I already spoke about. It's this is, you can see it better. It's covering my body with a layer of another layer of skin, another layer of earth, another layer of memory, perhaps as a performative action. The protest, I guess, not touching the earth as a scientist.
I think that in a way, let me just mention one thing: is your work with the black mud, long time. For me, I was wondering many times how much your scientific background reflect or inspiring when you in person, you touch the black mud on your own body, and you somehow create a new piece, whether or your knowledge, either the vibrations or the scientific research with earth, with soil, is it coming inside your movement work?
Of course, it has to. I mean, the black mud happens to be from the Dead Sea. PhD was on the Dead Sea, still studying the Dead Sea some 25 years later. And one of the things that the Dead Sea mud is known for is its medicinal properties. It for the skin, it helps psoriasis. Taking it to another level and using it as a performative media, of course, I'm thinking always about the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is basically our history book when we want to know about climate change, when we want to know about earthquakes. We go to the Dead Sea, we look at the mud because it preserves an archive of climate change and of tectonic movement. And so I'm taking my science and I'm actually putting it on my body. Taking that archive of data, whether it's climate, whether it's earthquakes, whether it's other tectonic movements, and putting it on my body. So of course it affects what I'm doing. It's in the back of my mind. If not consciously, then of course it's subconsciously.
And the opposite as a scientist. When you get back to your university research, are you having any experience like from your performance work? Is it going the other way as well?
It's made me less tolerable of the scientific method, I have to say. The scientific method is very strict and non-personal. You don't put the word I in your scientific articles, or we in our scientific articles. So this becoming closer to the material that I actually work with in my science has kind of made me sort of skeptical or critical of the modern scientific method and way of conducting science where you can't be personal about it in any sense. So it's It's had an adverse effect, but I think it's a good effect.
Let me move. Thank you so much. Let me move to Professor Yossi Haik. He's with us.
Hi.
Hi, Yossi. I know after working so many years in Sheba Medical Center as a professor of, well, you will better define your position, but I wanted to ask you, I know that for Venice, you're creating a work of ceramic work, porcelain, about your portrait, about your own portrait, after operating thousands of people, saving life of so many wounded. You come from the science, from the medical world to the art, and in a way, you're donating your own face to Betty, to your lovely wife. She's a ceramic artist, and you pose working. And again, like I was asking Michael, hey Betty, yeah, Michael was talking about using his body, again, as a scientist and artist, and now we get to you after operating so many faces because of your whatever. You work on yourself now. You're making an art piece from the surface of your face. So what are you saying about it?
So, first of all, I'm the director today of the Division of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery and also the National Burn Center of Israel. I'm also running the Skin Bank and Lab. So some are laughing about the plastic surgeons that we are surgeons skin deep, but obviously we do much more than that. And again, you know, I'm with my wife here, Betty, which is the artist. I design and tailor in skin. She does it in ceramics and other, let's say, materials. We are together from the age of 14, so also the Academy of Fine Arts in Bologna, where I studied medicine and she did her art studies. We kind of grew up together, and it's interesting how, you know, the work we do now for this exhibition is kind of a mutual work that both she absorbed anatomy and all the techniques that I run, and she knows patients that I deal with, and I know how she developed her art during the years. And we thought about combining, again, you know, I'm much more a scientist, kind of clinical than philosophy. So we thought of combining the technologies that I'm using, for example, for expanding skin into her work. We chose my face because it's also in Venice. And again, Italy, we have a lot of respect to Italy. And so Venice and the masks of Venice. So again, just to show you, this is my skin or my facial 3D kind of scan done with silicone. Okay, so I can even put it on my face. It will be 1-to-1.
Wow.
And that's done mainly to prevent scars from forming after we're kind of healing the wounds or covering the skin that was damaged during the burn. But again, with that, there are different phases of healing of the burn. So we did a few masks according to this kind of mold, though Betty created the mold, the first mold, and so on. And then we did from dressings down to techniques such as meek, in which we divide the skin into small square pieces, or we mesh the skin. This is one of the works now. It's still under work.
Oh yeah, wow. Wow.
So we do kind of squares from pieces of small skin and spread them all over to cover places that were injured.
Focus. It reminds me, Yossi, it reminds me a little bit computer bites.
It's it's handmade this time. Betty is, and until we had the technique of Mick, I used to do it handwork pieces of 1 by 1 millimeters to create pieces of skin that will spread and heal the wound. Then we had all kinds of how a burn looked like, an open wound.
Don't know if it's on focus.
We're not sure whether, yeah.
Wow.
תראי את החבישות. And then, and this is made out of crystals. So again, skin is made out of
porcelain, and on top of it, it's a glazure with crystals. The colors are crystals.
So we created different layers of showing the burn or how it heals, because we put epidermal skin, which is the upper layer, on a deeper layer, which is the dermis, and you know, with time it was a mutual work, so it was a bit of arguments about which colors, which crystals, which porcelain. I don't know if you can see, but that's dressings.
Okay.
Made by porcelain. So it's not the Madonna Valuta of Leonardo, but it's trying to show different styles that I kind of absorbed from arts that I've seen with Betty during the years. And she's kind of injured persons or patients that she knows and healing. And we thought it would be nice to show different faces or different masks this time, trying to visualize whatever we do. And Betty put afterwards the hope, or the skin after it healed, like she sees the soul under the skin again. So there are other masks that will show you with her own tattoo, which is again on the skin, but on the face. So it's trying to mix everything. And, you know, in your gallery, we were discussing a mutual work. So there were lots of arguments about colors, materials. And it's nice to see again, you know, we managed to compromise. If not, they weren't there now. But Betty still works on them now. For next week, we're going to Italy next week. So we're gonna move them to Italy, and then hopefully we will all have a chance to discuss them in person.
I can tell you that you're bringing new masks to Venice. Venice is the mask center with the festival. It's so known in Venice, but I think that you're coming with a new updating version of the meaning of mask now. So bless you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. We shall we shall move to Yehudah, Professor Yehudah Roth, his presentation. Okay, Yehudah.
Okay. What I would like to show is an assortment of skin expressions of different biological phenomena. This is like a bouquet of flowers that I weaved specifically for this session, just to demonstrate a few hopefully interesting expressions. So let's start with the first one. And the next one.
George A. Bubenik, a physiologist and professor of zoology at the University of Guelph in Ontario, explains. Imagine swimming in a lake on a hot summer day. The water is quite warm, but the wind is strong, and the moment you leave the water you feel chilly and get goosebumps. So you change clothes and move inside to warm up. You make a nice cup of tea, get under a blanket and switch on the radio. Suddenly, you hear a song from a long time ago, the song your grandmother used to sing to you when you were a child. Again, you feel a chill on your back and again you get goosebumps. Why do such seemingly unrelated events elicit the same body reaction? The reason for this is the physiology of emotions. Goosebumps are a physiological phenomenon inherited from our ancestors, which was useful to them, but are not of much help to us. Goosebumps are tiny elevations of the skin that resemble the skin of poultry after the feathers have been plucked. Therefore we could as well call them turkey-bumps, gooseflesh, chilly bums, duck bumps. And the scientific term is pilorections. These bumps are caused by a contraction of miniature muscles that are attached to each hair. Each contracting muscle creates a shallow depression on the skin surface, which causes the surrounding area to protrude. The contraction also causes the hair to stand up whenever the body feels cold. In animals with a thick hair coat, this rising of hair expands the layer of air that serves as insulation. The thicker the hair layer, the more heat is retained. In people this reaction is useless because we do not have a hair coat, but goosebumps persist nevertheless. Getting goosebumps could boost hair growth. In a new study, a Harvard scientist reported that getting goosebumps not only makes the hair stand up, but it also helps grow hair faster. Nerves and muscles that raise goosebumps also stimulate stem cells in the skin to make hair follicles and grow hair. Yochai Su, a stem cell researcher at Harvard University, explained, nerves that are a part of the sympathetic nervous system, which controls pupil dilation, pulse, and other automatic processes, settle alongside organisms that make hair follicles. Su, along with her colleagues, found that nerves also secrete a hormone called norepinephrine that is responsible for hair growth. Sympathetic nerves and goosebump-raising muscles may also be important in that type of baldness. Restoring the nerves and muscles may lead to new hair growth.
Another example is trembling. This is quite a rare form of skin trembling, which is a rare sign of hyperfunction of the thyroid gland. Okay, it didn't work. Let's move to the next slide. Sorry about that. This should work.
When you take the plunge in the bath or the pool, these guys and these guys wrinkle up. This, not so much. So why do our fingers wrinkle? Macaque monkeys who spend up to 2 hours a day in the water get pruny fingers and toes too, which points to its evolutionary advantage. Like your all-season radios, these wrinkles are rain treads there to channel water away and enhance your grip. The skin on your fingers has a protein called keratin. It strengthens the skin on your hands so they hold up to constant use. Keratin's the same stuff that makes your hair so strong, and it's what allows the wrinkles to form. Keratin's strong because it's woven together in a lattice structure. And that's what expands, up to 5 times in volume when water gets absorbed. Which means you can do this. But back in the pool, what's doing the wrinkling isn't the water, it's your brain. That's because finger wrinkling is an autonomic response, like this, or this. Even though you're not thinking about it, your brain knows things get slippery when wet and tells your fingers and toes to wrinkle. That was really important 10,000 years ago when we needed to snatch piranhas out of the Amazon with our bare hands. So why do our fingers wrinkle today? It's no longer for survival, but it does make it a lot easier to get out of that tub.
The next slide has actually two clips. Let's start with the left one. זה מתחיל מהשמאלי. Blushing, הסמקה.
Today's topic is skin blushing. Skin blushing is a very common condition, especially among women. It is also called skin flushing, and it can be caused by the blood rushing to your face and neck, causing it to turn red. It can also be accompanied with other symptoms, including redness and warmth in the cheeks and forehead, tingling sensations, and sweating. Some people also experience other symptoms such as heart palpitations or shortness of breath when they're embarrassed by their blushing reaction. Causes of skin blushing. Skin blushing is most commonly caused by emotional triggers like embarrassment, stress, anxiety, and anger. Some people with social anxiety can experience it from a simple social situation like meeting a friend. Skin blushing can also be caused by exercise, eating spicy foods, hot weather, and drinking alcohol. Some more serious causes of skin blushing include medical conditions like rosacea, which causes dry and red skin, and also hyperthyroidism, which is when the thyroid hormones are high. Sometimes blushing is caused by taking some medications related to diabetes, high blood pressure, and cholesterol. Also, menopause is a very common cause for skin blushing in women, which is when a woman permanently stops having her period. Treatment for skin blushing. If you're suffering from blushing, you don't need to worry, as it can be treated fairly easily. One treatment option you have is avoiding triggers. If you're not sure what causes your skin to blush, avoid anything that might be a trigger. For example, you might need to avoid extreme temperatures, limit your alcohol intake, avoid eating spicy food, and isolating yourself from extremely stressful situations. In some cases where the patient has uncontrollable blushing from a condition like rosacea, a doctor may prescribe a topical constrictor, which is a cream that reduces blood flow to certain areas to prevent blushing. But it is not a long-term treatment or a cure, as the effects only last for a day or slightly more. In some situations, clonidine is prescribed, which is an oral drug that treats high blood pressure. It works in treating blushing as it controls the blood flow to the face. When to see a doctor? Most of the times, skin flushing is nothing serious and harmless, but sometimes it can be an indication that something is wrong. So you should monitor the situation and consult a doctor when the flushing suddenly happens more often or getting more severe. Contact a doctor also when you have avoided all the triggers, but it still happens and you can't find out why, or when the flushing is accompanied by other unexplained symptoms like racing heart, easily bruised skin, confusion, dizziness, or chills.
Thank you for watching our video. Please do not forget to like and share the video. Also, please subscribe to the
We've all been there. Something embarrassing happens, or you get caught in the act, and you blush, turning red like a tomato. But what causes us to blush when we're embarrassed? Let's find out on today's episode of Question. Your blushing reflex is controlled by something called your sympathetic nervous system, which is basically the system that takes over when you panic and happens without you ever choosing to blush. When you get embarrassed, adrenaline is released into your body, which speeds up your heart rate and increases blood and oxygen flow because your veins widen, allowing more blood to flow through your veins than normal. This causes your cheeks to turn a bright rosy red because of all the extra blood pumping through your face. But this special reaction only happens to the veins in your face, which is why you don't blush all over. Okay, so that's how we blush, but why do we do it? Well, that question seems to be hard for scientists to answer absolutely, but they do have a theory. Many researchers believe it's our body's way of admitting we feel guilty or embarrassed about something and automatically apologizing for it. According to the theory, someone is much more likely to forgive you and even feel bad for you if you blush after getting caught or doing something embarrassing. Think about it. You're trying to pour yourself a drink and it accidentally spills right as your parents walk in the room and your face turns bright red from blushing. Before you can say a word, your flushed face is your body's way of letting your parents know it was an accident. And now you know why we blush. Comment below if you have a question you'd like to know the answer to. And remember to subscribe for more episodes of Gloss.
This is yet another phenomenon.
What is galvanic skin response? Skin is a primary interface between the environment and organism. Skin interacts with bodily functions like sensing and perception, temperature, and the immune system. When sweat glands are elicited, they start exuding moisture through the skin. Increased conductance equals decreased resistance. This variation in skin conductance is referred to as galvanic skin response. Fluctuations can be detected when sweat ducts fill in. Such reactions can offer valuable info concerning emotional stimulation. The most renowned galvanic skin response device is the lie detector. Other applications enable you to determine how your patient's body is responding without interference from conscious filters. BioScan measures skin conductivity non-intrusively. When you use BioScan, you can detect and scan the skin's activity against a range of signals in real time. Visit our website at www.ihtb.
Okay, the last slide.
Can you say what about this?
That's it. Mamash.
That's it?
Okay, yeah, that's it. Just to show you assortment of possibilities involving skin motion. And of course, we can relate to the long memory, the good memory of the elephants.
Very nice, very nice. Really a lot of ideas. Revital, do you want to add something, my dear? Or Fridemann? Well, you heard Yossi Haik before, and I was wondering whether your work on your own skin has to do something with memory.
For sure. Usually in my work, I work on scars. And the scars are a memory of the skin of events that happen to it.
Yeah.
Actually, I deal all the time with scars, and I work a lot with tactile senses because part of my work is done without looking. It's actually trying to find anatomical spots in the pelvis and work on them. And my personal scars are a memory of events that happened to me. But it's events that happen to other women too. And one of the ways to process them is actually to work on the scars. The first thing was to change them with the tattoo, and then I'm embroidering on them, which is actually redoing or undoing the scars. And also it's something that is very tactile. Fridemann, can you help me? I will show you the work, one of the works. This is the.
Can we share the?
By the way, Naseem, I think that you should somehow communicate with Revital because it has to do a lot with her work and the textile, as she said. And it's a very nice, would be a very nice dialogue in between yourself. I think that it's very nice. I don't know.
I don't know how to share this.
It's on the desktop.
It should be in the desktop, yes.
No.
But I don't see it.
Let's open it again.
Amazing textile of Naseem. I think it's another way of relating to the meaning of skin.
Yeah, because I think my work's not really about the scars. But there are scars, but it's kind of like underneath. So it'll be really interesting to see how someone's working onto the scars.
So can you see it now?
Yes.
I'm sorry for the. So actually, this work is dealing also with the covers of the surgery and a lot about the culture of approaching the body before you cut it and before you enter the skin. So it has a lot of ceremonial act, and I put my belly because it's like a reference to myself because when I'm entering another body, I also carry my memory, my body's memory with the event, with the scars, and you can see the tattoo, but you can also see that this was embroidered. If you look with a close up, you see that this is really something you can touch. It's actually coming out of the skin, and when I'm working it, it's also the tactile experience, but I'm embroidering, but actually I'm erasing. It's the same process of changing the scars and erasing them. I'll show you another work that is done with the stamps, with medical stamps. I use a lot of mediums. I photograph, I also paint, but embroidery is really my best. I feel I can express myself the best, and that's for few reasons. It's also because I'm a surgeon, the carpet. And this also is unique to me. The thing with the embroidery, because it's an extension of my work. It's like I'm working I'm working in cooperation with myself in a way, because I'm taking some ideas from my surgeries and my work, and I'm taking ideas from my art, and everything is mixed up and progressing. And there's a lot of things that I can say through art that I can't say with words, and you can see that this is the embroidery. and this is actually not connected maybe to the idea, but everybody about thing with skin, that everybody is actually the same from within. But on the other hand, we are schematically described here with the stamps, but the embroidery brings color and form that is unique to everybody. I think this process of, because I treat transgenders and women in Africa and in Israel, I'm treating women from all ages and all part of society. It happened to me that somebody asked me about a patient, and she mentioned their skin color, and I couldn't possibly connect the skin color to the lady. I thought that for the first time I really didn't see the color. And I think this is something that happened to me through my work, but also through my art. And maybe that's the message I want to convey, that we are different, but also similar, and that by embroidering, maybe we can change things and maybe even change the memory.
At least always it bring up to your technical work in your surgery. For me, like using the embroidery, like once you work, the technique is quite the same. By the way, Naseem, talking about your textile, somehow personally, I see it very emotion, if I may say, Naseem. And again, in Revital's work, I find the colors, as you said, in a way, it's always also brings the emotional side to the embroidery in my way. I don't know why, but that's what I feel with it.
First of all, I'm happy because I think I have a lot of feelings and thoughts, and I didn't find the system to express it in 2 or 3 signs that can say how I feel at the moment and how strong, and if it's a soft feeling, or it's always very combined, because everything you see, if you see it, is so complex. And for me, it's I think this work and also other parts of my artworks bring up my emotions that are really, I have a lot of emotions. I don't know. I'm a very emotional person, and I'm also I'm a bit unruly in a way. I think I see in my field that sometimes I'm operating and people ask me, what do I see? Because they're interested. What am I seeing in the situation that they don't see? And I think it's sometimes I'm verbal about it when I teach students, or when I'm in a surgery. I'm very verbal about everything. I'm telling every detail that somebody needs to watch. And sometimes I'm lost for words. It's too complex. And then I go home and I do some art. And sometimes it touches somebody like you do. I really, the most nice thing for me is to go to first of all, I like showing my work. I like seeing my work because I like to see how people react to it. It's very interesting for me to see the way people look at the works, if they're interested in the details. And I'm really trying to convey the feelings that I have, maybe not such a verbal way.
Thank you so much. I think that we are at the time, and we have our 2 hours. I would like to acknowledge, to thank you very much for participating. I think our project is your project, but without you, we have nothing in our hand. I think that we have a great week in Venice at the beginning of September. We should have you all in our discussion. And again, thanks very much for any work that you prepare, the effort that you're doing. And let's meet in Venice in very short time. It's less than a month. It was a great pleasure to host you in the four sessions. I want to thank deeply to Amir Cohen and to Iran, and of course to Yehudah Roth. It is a lot of work, and I think that we were very beneficial, all of us. And again, I want to thank Yaron and the Zemack Gallery. I think that we lost Yigal Ozeri in the way. He's not with us. But thank you for all your artists for me. And thanks very much to Rina. It was a big honor to have you here with us. To Mike and to Tamar, to all our friends there. Naseem, we appreciate very much. Revital, Yossi Haik, and Shmulik, I see you following. I'm with you. You can say hello if you like. We don't hear you are on mute. You are on mute.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Hello to everybody. Thank you. It was really excited to hear you.
Okay. So we'd love to have you with us next time.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody, and see you soon in September. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.